Secrets in the Dales by Diane Allen. Read by Emma Swan. Chapter 1. 31st of May, 1940. Edward Riley buried himself deeper in the shelter of the sand dunes. The sound of aircraft flying low with the rat-tat of their guns making him duck his head and hold on to his British Army Edition helmet. The whole of the British Expeditionary Forces were caught like rats in a barrel. He turned onto his back, reloaded his trusty rifle, and aimed at the oncoming soldiers who were after his hide. In front of him were the burning ruins of Dunkirk, bombed and in flames, riddled with Germans. Either side of him were dead and dying men, their moans heard over the attack of enemy machine gun fire. Behind him was the sea, his only escape. But on the beaches, tanks and armoured vehicles lay ablaze, with hundreds of soldiers lying forsaken as the tide lapped against their motionless bodies. The only way out was to make a run for it down to one of the many jetties, which looked alive with a crawl of green-uniformed soldier-like caterpillars, desperate to get into one of the small boats for home. The Germans were playing games with them as Messerschmitts flew low and precise over the undefended troops. They were trapped, and they'd be lucky if any of them survived the onslaught. "Shit!" Edward swore as he aimed his gun and fired at an oncoming German who had found him hiding in the dunes. He pulled the trigger back, but it was locked and wouldn't move as the tall blonde man stood above him, eyes filled with hatred. The German hesitated for just a moment before lifting his gun with the bayonet attached and thrusting it down hard into Edward. Then he moved on to seek more prey, certain that his enemy would not survive, even though his eyes were still open and he was still breathing. Edward was numb with pain. Blood soaked his uniform, and he could feel that his battle with life was nearly over. Slowly, he reached into his inside pocket and pulled out a picture of the girl he loved, Sally Fothergill. She was fading in front of his eyes as he kissed the picture and whispered, "I'm sorry, Sal. I'll be coming home in a box if I'm lucky enough to be found at all. But I love you. I always will." He closed his eyes and thought about the times they'd walked together on summer days next to the River Dee, down Dentdale. How they had kissed while lying together in the sweet green grass. He thought of his mother and father back home. His mother would be cooking at the stove in the stone-flagged kitchen, as she always was, and his father would be striding out across the rough pasture land and home fields to check on the new spring lambs. Edward could smell the clear Dales air and hear the birds singing in the orchard's apple trees. He closed his eyes and felt his lifeblood seeping away as he slipped into sleep. He was going home. Home to his Sally. Back to the Dale that he loved. "Father, come here. Look, it's our Edward. He's home, I swear he's home. I've just seen him standing down there by the field gate in his uniform and he's looking up here. I swear he is, Bert." It was a quiet Sunday morning in the Dale, and Maggie Riley had just stood up after putting a pie in the side oven. As she took off her pinny and gazed down the farm track, she thought for a moment that she must be going mad. "He was there. I was sure he was there," she murmured. Bert, her husband, came to her side, and together they peered out of the doorway of Rayside Farmhouse. "There's no one there, Mother. You're imagining things. I can't hear or see anything, only the sheep bleating." Bert put his arm round his wife's waist. "He'd have written to tell us if he were coming home. You're only seeing what you want to see, my old lass." "He was there, I tell you."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?